Jonathan has survived 20 centuries of cold steel and industrial slaughter. He has watched the rise and fall of every empire in recorded history, outlasting everyone he has ever loved. Yet, in a brightly lit modern hospital, he is suddenly the most vulnerable man on Earth. Moments after the birth of his daughter, Leila, Jonathan steps into the hallway. When he returns, the room is empty. The nurses have no record of his wife Stella's admission, and their closest friends claim he has been a bachelor for years. He pulls out his phone with shaking hands. The photos are still there. Stella in the park, their wedding photos, the first ultrasound. His digital history confirms his sanity, even as the physical world actively deletes his family. The ancient shadows Jonathan spent centuries out survival. Their relationship began with an admission of exhaustion. At a bookstore coffee shop, Jonathan and Stella realized they were both haunted by nightmares that felt more like memories than imagination. Their connection eventually crossed a physical threshold. While napping in a park, they both woke up in a shared mental landscape, a meadow where they could talk, touch, and exist outside of time. This shared space became Jonathan's only confessional. Here, Stella could walk through the ruins of his 2,000-year history, helping him organize the centuries of grief he had tried to bury. This psychological bridge is now their primary investigative tool. Stella is the only person capable of navigating the specific layers of trauma that Jonathan's waking mind has spent centuries repressing. They travel to the geographic heart of his oldest memories. On a hill overgrown with wild cherry blossoms, they find the crumbling foundations of the castle where Jonathan was born. Hidden in the tall grass is a grave guarded by a kneeling stone warrior. For Jonathan, this site functions as a violent psychological trigger, shattering the mental blocks he has maintained for eons. This is the grave of his sister, Julia. The stone guardian was her protector, who carried her from a burning siege and was so paralyzed by the failure to save her that his body eventually petrified from grief. Jonathan's immortality is a permanent scar. His body developed this survival mechanism as a primal response to the total massacre of his household during that forgotten war. To see what Jonathan's mind still refuses to show him, Stella takes the lead. She projects her consciousness back through the shared dream bridge to witness the original conflict as a neutral observer. Stella watches a barbarian warlord at the head of a massive horde. He is a man who has conquered 47 countries, and he is currently gazing down at a primitive valley with the intent to claim it. The invasion stops before it starts. The warlord's scouts report anomalies, floating geometric spires and wards woven from crystallized light. These defenses are entirely centered around a single man living in a simple hut. Jonathan's family was caught in the crossfire of a defense system that operated on principles far beyond human biology. The barbarian horde had unknowingly stumbled into a high-technology exclusion zone. A voice speaks directly into the minds of the barbarians. It belongs to the Progenitors, ancient, multidimensional entities who seeded life on Earth 4 billion years ago and have silently managed its trajectory ever since. The Progenitors intervened 170 times to ensure his survival, deflecting plagues, arrows, and lethal accidents. While millions of other lifelines terminate at natural collision points, Jonathan's path is actively maintained across centuries. He is an experiment in forced longevity. The Progenitors manifest fully, their presence warping the geometry of the valley. They warn the warlord that Jonathan is forbidden, a being under the direct shepherding of Earth's oldest civilization. Jonathan stands as the singular success of this project. He is a meticulously shepherded individual, kept alive by ancient powers to see if a human can withstand the weight of absolute time. The warlord demands to know why. Why would gods protect a man who can't even master his own emotions, instead of a conqueror who could unite the world? The Progenitors reveal a much longer view of human potential. They have no interest in conquerors or empires that eventually turn to dust. They waited billions of years for a human capable of mastering resilience and inner peace. Jonathan lived through 2,000 years of greed and blood, yet he never became a warlord. He used the pen he still carries to write stories and search for beauty in small moments. He saw humanity at its worst and responded by buying tulips for a friend. This capacity to endure infinite trauma without surrendering to cruelty is the milestone they were waiting for. Jonathan is the proof that a human spirit can remain intact even under the crushing pressure of eternity. Stella returns to the present, realizing that Jonathan's family was erased because the Progenitors' protective shield was starting to isolate him from the mortal world entirely. Stella recognizes the trap of the blind king. In a world where ancient entities manipulate every event, superficial power is meaningless. Superiority is an illusion when it comes at the cost of genuine human connection. Jonathan uses his hard-won resilience to make a final choice. He rejects the destiny the Progenitors built for him. He pushes back against the cosmic wards, grounding his existence in the everyday reality of his wife and child. True peace lives in the emotional architecture of a shared life. It is found in the vulnerable, everyday bonds that give a 2,000-year journey its only real meaning.